Now, I'm by no means, by any stretch of the imagination, a dinosaur expert, but I possibly know more about Mississippi dinosaurs than most people. I haven't written extensively on the subject. I've talked about it a lot, but I haven't written extensively on the subject. I have a few papers out there. How many of you are familiar with my published work? How many of you follow me? James. James is the only one, of course. The people I do field work with, yeah. Kendall and James, and of course Paul in the back there. Thank you guys for coming. Come on in, folks. For you latecomers, the closer you sit, the more benefits there are during the program. So come on down to the front. Don't mind me. I'm just the guest speaker here. There's a particular Mississippi native who's actually written more about dinosaurs than I have. In fact, she wrote a book about certain types of dinosaurs, one in particular, a dinosaur called Tarbosaurus from Mongolia. And this is an example of the foot. This is a cast of the foot of Tarbosaurus right here. This was a very controversial specimen, and that's what inspired this book by Paige Williams of Tupelo, Mississippi. The book's called The Dinosaur Artist. It is not fiction. It is about an actual controversy surrounding a dinosaur, and in fact, it led to multiple dinosaurs, being reclaimed by the country of Mongolia, where they originated from. It's quite the compelling read. I haven't read the whole thing. I've mined it for information. I think I read a total of 2 chapters that I was really intensely interested in. But she's a compelling writer. I highly recommend it. Nothing in here about Mississippi dinosaurs, but she is a Mississippi native, like I say, a Tupelo native, who's written more about dinosaurs than I ever have. But I'm your authority on Mississippi dinosaurs today, at least by de facto, since I'm the only one here, unless somebody else wants to talk about Mississippi dinosaurs. You'll get your chance if you know a little bit. Okay, just here in a few minutes. Oh, and I am without, I just realized I'm without my control. Sorry about that. So another person, a Mississippi native who knows a lot about dinosaurs and prehistoric life, particularly during the age of the dinosaurs, is a young lady. I say young lady, she's younger than I am, but I think she's in her mid-30s, Victoria Egerton of Biloxi, Mississippi, who is on staff at the Children's Museum in Indianapolis, Indiana. Have you ever heard of this fantastic museum about dinosaurs? It focuses on dinosaurs. They have other things there. The Indianapolis Children's Museum. This Biloxi native, Victoria Egerton, works there with her husband, who is a world's authority on dinosaurs. Phil something or other. As you can tell, I can really remember him, as famous as he is. But we are still looking for the slide advance.
I'm going to be your manual.
Oh, okay, great.
Just until he comes back.
Okay, I'll raise my hand. So yeah, Victoria, a Mississippi native, but there's not too many Mississippi natives that are writing about dinosaurs, particularly dinosaurs from Mississippi. Did someone say something about door prizes? Did you say something about door prizes? You had your mouth open. You must have said something. You said something about door prizes. Well, yeah, we do have door prizes. I have 3 of them right here. I have a book, not about dinosaurs, but about non-dinosaurs. In this case, it looks like prehistoric marine reptiles, specifically the types from Mississippi and Alabama, written by Judy Cutchins. Most of it's about Alabama, but there is frequent mention of marine reptiles from Mississippi. These guys lived during the days of the dinosaurs. Over here, we have this guy called, will you pronounce the name?
Hyenodon.
Hyenodon, yeah, very good. So this is a mammal, so not a dinosaur. I've run out of dinosaurs to give away, sorry. And we also have this little surprise package right here from the gift shop. Nobody knows what's in it, but I can guarantee you that it's not a dinosaur.
It's a dinosaur.
Yeah, it's definitely not a real dinosaur. Oh, thank you. And that's kind of the topic of a quiz that I want to give you guys. We've got a pop quiz. I know you didn't come prepared. Some of you heard me talk about it before the show. but we're going to take a little quiz to better understand what is and what is not a dinosaur. Let's start with, in terms of not a dinosaur. That most of the quiz will be about what is not a dinosaur. But we're all trying to get at how a dinosaur is defined. What is a dinosaur? For example, the quiz will compare a couple of different images, sometimes several images, and you'll have to tell me which one is and which one is not a dinosaur. We will get to Mississippi dinosaurs, but I want to prepare you with a better understanding of the subject we're talking about, because you'll be surprised at what you think is a dinosaur is actually not a dinosaur. So young man, I know you're anxious to answer which one of these is a dinosaur and which one is not a dinosaur, or which one of these are not dinosaurs. Okay, does somebody have a differing opinion? Okay, we've got lots of differing opinions. So what are you suggesting?
I think it's not right.
Okay, so the reverse?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. That's okay. I picked on you first. That's all right. Is that your opinion too?
Yeah, the bottom one, no.
Okay, if this helps you with their names at all, sometimes you've heard the names. Of course, the shapes of the dinosaurs as they're illustrated is all dependent upon artist convention. That is how the artists drew them. And they're not always the way we recognize them in picture books and the movies. But there on the left is Corythosaurus, then there's Dimetrodon and Edaphosaurus. And you are correct. For those of you, most of you, suggested the one in the upper right is a dinosaur, and that is correct. Corythosaurus is a duck-billed dinosaur. The other two guys are sphenacodontid pelycosaurs. And would you repeat that for me, please?
Spalacodontid colitis.
Very good, very good. Yeah, that's close enough. And I only picked on you because you were on your phone. So don't get on your phone. So yes, those are not dinosaurs. All right, let's begin the quiz. Everybody ready? You got your thinking caps on, okay? Let's look at a small group. Oh goodness, that's intimidating. All right, I'll tell you what. Take it one row at a time. We'll mark an X over those that are not dinosaurs. All right, you were anxious to answer a while ago. Which do you think of these is not a dinosaur?
The second.
The second one is not a dinosaur? Okay, very good. I tend to agree with that. Does anybody disagree? You had your hand up here. So number 2 is not a dinosaur. At least that's what's been suggested by the audience. Number 3, not a dinosaur. Is everybody in general agreement? Okay. That is correct. Well, now the Q&A we're going to try to limit to under 50. Or am I assuming something? I don't know. All right, row 2. Which of these is not a dinosaur? Yes, sir. Front row, middle. Okay, far right, did you say? All right. All right, brown shirt. The first one, not a dinosaur? Okay, very good. Does anybody else have any other opinions? Yes, sir. Okay, so you're in general agreement? Yes, ma'am. The birds?
The bull.
The fourth one.
Oh, the fourth one. Okay, Godzilla. Yeah, probably not. I would tend to agree with that. One more. Okay. I should not have asked you to answer because everybody else had it right. Oh, sorry. The chickens are dinosaurs. And I'm going to explain that here in just a few minutes, okay, why that's the case. That's why we're doing this pop quiz, find out the general knowledge in the audience, and then we're going to tell you a little about that. Okay, last row. Which one is and is not a dinosaur? Yes, sir?
The third one.
Are you sure? Let's put it this way, that number 3 is a reluctant dinosaur. How about that?
The third one.
Okay. The third one. Okay, we're in general agreement with that. Okay, you got it all right. All right, I'm going to torch you very, very quickly with one more slide. This is the tricky one, so be careful. Which of these is not a dinosaur?
Second one.
The second one is not a dinosaur. Okay, does anybody else have any other opinions? Yes, ma'am? The third one is not a dinosaur. Okay. Yes, sir? The fourth one is not a dinosaur. Okay. And yes, sir, in the back. The third one is not a dinosaur. Well, birds are theropod dinosaurs. And we're going to narrow in on that definition here pretty soon, but everything else is not a dinosaur. Coloborhynchus is a pterosaur. Specifically, it is a pterodactylid pterosaur. And of course, mosasaurs are marine reptiles closest to lizards and snakes, which are not dinosaurs. And Batrachotomus is a Triassic early reptile. It is a type of Rawasuchian. Now, second row. Careful again, because now I'm playing tricky, right? Yes, sir. First one is not a dinosaur, okay? Third one, not a dinosaur, okay? All right, yes, sir. Fourth one, not a dinosaur. Do you have an answer? Pardon? That is correct. Okay, so we're all in general agreement that Caudipteryx is actually a dinosaur, and specifically it is an oviraptorosaur dinosaur. All right, which of these are not dinosaurs? Okay. Okay. Some of us are still not getting the picture, but go ahead.
The fourth one.
Okay, the fourth one. Okay, very good. Very good. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that's a very good one. Not a dinosaur. Yes, sir? That is correct. And so you guys got those correct. Alamosaurus and birds are dinosaurs. Alamosaurus is a type of sauropod dinosaur. Well, we're going to talk about birds and dinosaurs here in just a few minutes. But I want to focus on this guy in the bottom row, Desmatasuchus. He's another one of these early Triassic stem reptiles that gave rise to nothing. We know from details regarding its skeletons and the type of sediment it lived in that it was very much like armadillos. Desmatasuchus is a steganolepetid aidosaur. Can you repeat that for me? Okay, very good. You're keeping it simple. Some people pronounce it Edosaur. My dinosaur paleontologist, my instructor said Aidosaur. Anyway, either way is fine. And Desmatasuchus is not a dinosaur. It is often confused with a dinosaur, a type of nodosaur called Sauropelta. And sometimes it's confusing because their body shapes are very similar. Like I said about artists' convention, or the way artists reconstruct dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, they sometimes can look similar because just like bats and birds are unrelated, there are a lot of other similar things in the fossil record that are completely unrelated, yet their body forms are very similar because they've adapted in similar ways to their environment. So Desmatasuchus had an armadillo-like habitat. It was an herbivore. It's not a dinosaur. And Sauropelta is a nodosaurid thyreophorian dinosaur. I can't even say it, thyreophian. It's related, it's a distant relative of Stegosaurus. So what is a dinosaur? These 4 points right here, the limbs held erect beneath the torso, unlike crocodiles and unlike lizards. But similar to mammals, dinosaurs held their limbs directly underneath their torso. That's an important adaptation that the earliest dinosaurs earned in their evolution. They had a specialized hip, knee, and ankle joints, specialized hip construction overall, and the shape of the fourth trochanter in the femur is very much like most archosaurs, which includes alligators and dinosaurs. This is it. We don't have this in our femora, our thigh bones. This is a thigh bone of an alligator, the American alligator. So they have this well-developed fourth trochanter. Dinosaurs do too. I don't have a dinosaur femur that I can fit in my hand with the fourth trochanter. That's why I'm using this alligator. It's a nice demonstration. We only have one dinosaur femur here on display. It's from Mississippi. But the fourth trochanter is broken off of it and eroded away. But anyway, so these are 4 important points of the skeleton minus the skull. Then we had all the characteristics, the more definitive characteristics of the skull, which identifies dinosaurs, jaw muscles attached to the roof of the skull instead of the sides of the skull, large muscular ridge on the humerus, and a depression in the front of the supratemporal fenestra. So there's a little depression right here. It's a very important feature defining dinosaurs. But with regard to that, second to the last item, the deltopectoral crest defines dinosaurs. Here's one on a juvenile duck-billed dinosaur called Edmontosaurus. There's the deltopectoral crest. And so this is the deltopectoral crest on the humerus of something else. Does anybody want to take a guess what this is? Oh, very good. You're paying attention. But it's not a duck. But you're very close. This is from a goose, a tundra goose. All right. What other groups of animals share these same characteristics that we've just listed? And so that this, as suggested by the person who answered this latest question here, what other groups of animals are we talking about? We showed slides of them that are related to dinosaurs. Yes, sir?
Some birds.
Right. Well, all birds. All birds. And that humerus of the bird I just showed you is from the tundra swan. There he is in all his glory. So, many similar habits as well, many similar adaptations, not only being directly related to dinosaurs, but they had much of the feeding behaviors of dinosaurs as well. I suppose both Bambiraptor and the little blue heron and other birds chased frogs. In the postcranial skeleton, that is the part of the skeleton except for the skull, there are numerous features that can easily be seen in the sharing of features of the pectoral girdle or the shoulder girdle, for example, with juvenile and adult birds, in this case, chukar partridges. The same is with the forefoot, the rib cage, and the vertebral column, and other parts of the skeleton, and particularly the feathers. Dinosaurs possess feathers, and we're learning more and more about dinosaurs and their possession of feathers. We've so far have over 30 different types of dinosaurs, different species of dinosaurs with feathers from multiple genera and families and superfamilies. Here are some of the first dinosaurs, I think in the 1990s, described with feathers. You can make out the feathers along the margins of the skeleton. Numerous theropods worldwide have been found with associated feathers, and this is just some of them. Now, I'm a bad lecturer, I didn't credit everybody with the photos from whom I stole the items, but some of you older folk that are associated with the museum remember the artist that we employed before Sam Beavers, Steve Peterson. How many of you guys remember Steve? Oh, Steve, thank you for coming today. There he is right there. Steve, raise your hand. Thank you for coming, man. It's been a while. I'm still showing off your artwork. I love it. This is the best rendering of a dromaeosaur I've ever seen. So that's Steve's artwork there. And here's additional feathered dinosaurs that we know from the fossil record. And there are numerous others for which we infer the possession of feathers by certain features in the bones. For example, how many of you ever looked at the ulna of a bird? That's this bone right here of a bird. You'll see little bumps along its margins. And these are adaptations for flight feathers. And there's a few dinosaurs that possess these adaptations. Whether or not they actually flew, I'm not sure. But there are these bumps along the ulna. I didn't bring an example of that. But let's talk about Mississippi dinosaurs. That's why you all came here. We're going to learn about the various types of Mississippi dinosaurs. First, I want to tell you about some major dinosaur discoveries. This one happened before my time. My predecessor, the very first paleontologist with the MMNS Paleontology program, Mike Frazier, who passed away, sadly, a couple of years ago. He was involved in this big discovery along with Dr. David Dockery and a couple of Army Corps of Engineers biologists who told Dr. Dockery and Mike Frazier about the Amory-Locken Dam excavation in 1978, where they were finding bones alongside shark teeth, marine turtle, sea turtle bones, and other marine fossils. Those were described 4 years later in 1982 by Ken Carpenter. Tom, why do you know the name Ken Carpenter? He worked here once upon a time. He's the guy who put the whale back together. We had him under contract in the early 1980s. Do you remember that guy? Okay, before you all right, yeah, that is before you. All right, the old guard is gone, haven't they? Yeah. Well, anyway, Ken Carpenter was, last I heard of, he was at the College of Eastern Utah, but I think he's since retired. But for many years, he was the chief preparator of fossils at the Denver Museum of Science and Nature. But we had him under contract in the 80s to hang Ziggy. So he put Ziggy back together, the small whale skeleton there in the exhibits. But he's the one who described these various dinosaur, 4 different species of dinosaur, 4 different types of dinosaur from the Amory Lock and Dam in 1982. Then many years later in Columbus, Mississippi, in the 1990s, there was some dredging work and channelization along a creek where I grew up in Columbus, Mississippi, called Luxapalila Creek. It was a major discovery. Locals started turning up with fossil shark teeth and sea turtle remains and other bits and parts of marine fishes and vertebrates, including dinosaur remains. These 3 teeth were found by myself and some museum volunteers along the creek bank. Looking along the creek bank right in this picture is Dr. Carol Brunk, the great niece of a famous paleoanthropologist. I just had to point her out. It's an interesting story if you want to hear it later. How we met at the College of Veterinary Medicine. This is her with her husband, who never collected fossils in his life, and he's out here finding his first fossils. This little tooth right here, all 3 of them, smaller than a penny, is from a nodosaur, an armored dinosaur. This is from a hadrosaur, or a duck-billed dinosaur. And this is from a raptor dinosaur, a dromaeosaur. All very tiny, all very fragmented. If they were any more fragmented, they might be impossible to identify. All of the dinosaurs I'm going to talk to you about today from Mississippi are from the Cretaceous period, from a span of the late part of the Cretaceous period, 85 to 66 million years ago. But some of you dinosaur experts and fossil experts out there between the ages of 4 and 8 will also know that the Cretaceous actually goes back to 144 million years ago. At the surface of the Mississippi, we only have 85 or maybe 90 to 66 million years preserved. And that's where we have the dinosaur remains. These are the 6 groups we're going to briefly gloss over here. The duck-billed dinosaurs first, then the nodosaurs, then the horned dinosaurs, the ostrich-mimic dinosaurs, the ornithomimosaurs, the dromaeosaurs, and then the tyrannosauroids. The best for last, right? Okay. Now, the reason we find dinosaur remains almost seems counterintuitive when you see that Mississippi, well, it's hard to make out the outline of Mississippi, but here's Mississippi. It's all underwater. And in spite of what you may already know, there are no marine dinosaurs. In fact, there's only one aquatic dinosaur in existence that we know of. But we won't go into that. That's another whole story in and of itself. But there are no dinosaurs that lived in the ocean. Nevertheless, Mississippi was inundated during most of this time period, except for perhaps the northeastern corner. But we do nevertheless find dinosaur remains in the state. Here is a close-up of Mississippi. You can better see the distribution of the land at this time step about 80 million years ago, with barrier islands offshore here, the Tombigbee, and later to become known as the Coffee Barriers just offshore, and volcanoes much further offshore around Jackson and Sharkey County. How many of you knew about the volcanoes? Fascinating story in and of itself if you ever have the time to pursue that, but we're not going to belabor that today. Of course, one overriding question that you'll take home with you, were there any dinosaurs on those islands? Possibly so. We won't talk about those. We're going to talk about the ones we find in northeast Mississippi. We have no record of we don't have no terrestrial sediments or terrestrial deposits that preserve dinosaurs. Everything we find are in ocean deposits, in marine deposits. And it has to do with the nature of those sediments that are of terrestrial origin. The dinosaurs we have preserved in our fossil record are the ones that are preserved by happenstance. Their remains are washed out to sea, perhaps carried to sea because they die along rivers or estuaries, and then the tide comes in and it takes charge of the dinosaur carcass as it's bloating and all of its putrefactedness, smelliness. And so it drifts and drifts Meanwhile, it's being pulled apart by these things right here and other smaller little critters in the ocean. And so it's northeast Mississippi where we find deposits of dinosaur age from the late Cretaceous period only at the surface. Now, there also almost certainly are dinosaurs to be found in the subsurface, but those deposits are so deep, and James Starnes with the Mississippi Office of Geology right over there, he does not have time to dig holes thousands of feet deep for dinosaurs. They do dig holes down thousands of feet deep, but not for dinosaurs, for other purposes. It would be a very hit or miss type of thing. Nevertheless, we have enough deposits at the surface that we're able to find a sufficient number of fossils from the Cretaceous period to keep me busy and James busy as well. The first group we want to talk about are the hadrosaurs, or the duck-billed dinosaurs. The duck-bills were the first dinosaur fossil described from Mississippi. In this first sentence here, Dr. Leidy of the Academy of Natural Sciences directed the attention of the members of a committee meeting of the Academy to the specimen of a large phalanx of an extinct reptile presented this evening by Dr. William Spillman of Columbus, Mississippi. Dr. Spillman was the first person to collect fossils in recorded history that we know of in my hometown. And as you might imagine, there's been a lot of research done on him, including an article co-authored by Dr. Mike Brograd over here, formerly of the Mississippi Office of Geology. Mike, will you raise your hand? So we've got a Spillman expert over there. He was also a Methodist minister. His home was recently torn down. I think it was in 2019. The people that owned the property could not repair this historic home anymore, and it became a liability, and they had to tear it down, sadly. Nevertheless, Dr. Leidy mentions that this is a hadrosaur bone. It's actually misspelled here. But it was the oldest description of a dinosaur from Mississippi that we know of. Is that still the case, Mike?
Pass.
Okay, all right. We're going to take that as a yes. I haven't found any older. That fossil was found at Plymouth Bluff along with other dinosaur fossils and numerous other sea creatures in Columbus, Mississippi. At one time, a world-renowned fossil site and a very important site of geologic interest visited by people primarily from Western Europe. Sadly, it has succumbed to the effects of the Tennessee Tombigbee waterway and is no longer accessible today. The hadrosaurs are the most commonly encountered dinosaur remains in the southeast. Alabama has a greater number of them, Mississippi, Georgia. These are locations where other dinosaur fossils are found in the southeast. Basically everywhere in the southeast except for Florida, which does not have any deposits of that age at the surface. In Alabama, they found two relatively complete, and by relatively complete, I mean more than 35% complete skeletons, Lophorathon and Eotrachodon. Eotrachodon, quite a recent discovery, 2008, by a fossil club in Birmingham, Alabama, and then described in 2016. This one is the most complete of the two known. In each case, they're both known by skulls, and they are incredibly preserved specimens for what is preserved. MMNS has less than about 50 duck-billed dinosaur fossils, and mostly isolated fragmentary bones and teeth, like this tooth right here, donated by one of the North Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society members back in 2012. And here's one of the bones that's on display downstairs, a bone that I found across from the Toyota plant in Blue Springs, Mississippi in 2008, I believe it was. And our former director on the left and our volunteer Joy Rushing on the right. And here is part of a foot that is owned by Mississippi State University Dunn-Sider Museum, one of the other dinosaur fossils found at Plymouth Bluff in Mississippi. Our most complete specimen, in fact, Mississippi's most complete specimen of a duck-billed dinosaur is this one right here from Boonville, Mississippi, found by this gentleman right here, Dave Haynes, who now lives in Columbia, South Carolina. It is It was found alongside it was this little jawbone of a nestling dinosaur. The bones in general are not well preserved. There are some that are preserved better than others. And I've pictured the humerus in the picture right there. This is the humerus that's in the picture. And you can come take a look at it after the show. I'm going to be introducing some of our dinosaur sculptures made by former museum employee Mary Alston, who's no longer with us. I mean, she's still alive. I mean, she just doesn't work here anymore. This is the humerus, and this is the ulna. They go together. They were found close to one another. That's the ulna right there in the ground after we removed the humerus. And again, it's the most complete duck-billed dinosaur known from Mississippi, especially since we can get the rest of the specimen out of private collector hands. There are a couple of private collectors that still have parts of it, and we're hoping to get those pieces to make a more complete whole. Another famous dinosaur discovery, also near my hometown, was the Tibby Creek dinosaur described by my mentor in geology, Dr. Jack Kay of Columbus, Mississippi, and Dr. Dale Russell, who was mentioned in my introduction by my supervisor, Aaron. Dr. Russell described that with Jack. Another reason that I went to North Carolina State was to study under Dr. Russell and his connection to Mississippi dinosaurs. But part of this specimen, some of the leg bones are on display downstairs if you want to take a close look at that. The best specimen of a duck-billed dinosaur ever found in the Southeast is the one at the McWane Science Center in Birmingham, Alabama, and found by the Birmingham Paleontological Society. It was found in Montgomery, Alabama, along a creek called Catoma Creek. It is a spectacularly preserved specimen. Our little nestling jaw, the only skull part with our Boonville specimen, preserves no teeth whatsoever. But the teeth in Eotrachodon from Montgomery are very nicely preserved. It's a 40% complete skeleton, which is an incredibly complete skeleton as any fossil vertebrate skeleton goes, by any measure, dinosaur or not. Here is the second group of dinosaurs we have represented, and who is that for scale in the picture? Jodie Foster for scale, yeah. Yeah, so she's 5'10", so to give you an idea of how big this nodosaurs were on average. And so we don't know, we don't have any species names for our dinosaurs. They're just too fragmentary to know species names. And they're probably new species for all we know. Their remains are so fragmentary we don't have enough material of any individual one to be able to describe it as a new species or even genus. But the nodosaurs were the armored dinosaurs. This tooth, if you want to get a close look at it, is on display downstairs. This is the best specimen of a nodosaur tooth that we have yet to come across. This was found when I was kayaking near West Point, Mississippi. And this was a bone found at the Amory Lock and Dam by my predecessor. And that is, it would be equivalent to the lumbar region of our back. It's in the back, and the vertebrae are fused, not because it's old and diseased. You can go ahead and take it. And when you're done with these fossils, when I hand them to you, if you've sat in the front or second rows, if you'll return them to the table when you're done with them. Don't pass them around, just turn the table. Everybody will get a chance to handle a dinosaur fossil, okay? All right. Well, not everybody in the back rows, of course. I warned you, you have to start in the first two rows if you want to interact, take part. So in the back, in the lower back of these nodosaurs, in most of them, particularly the late Cretaceous ones, their vertebrae are fused right before they enter the hip. And the idea is that that's to help support their very heavy back, a heavy back due to the very bony skin. And that bone is dense and it weighed a lot, and perhaps that added support is the idea to the back. And of course, that's just a fragment of the presacral rod, as it's called. The third group of dinosaurs, and this would be the third group of herbivorous dinosaurs. These are the plant eaters. So we're talking about the first three we're discussing are the plant eaters, are the ceratopsids. Now, who is given for scale with the ceratopsid dinosaur? Dennis? Yvonne? James? This is military dictator Auguste Pinochet for scale. He seemed to be of the right height that I wanted to use. That was such a bad joke, it's not letting me advance. Okay, it's advancing now. Okay, we've only uncovered one fossil of a ceratopsid dinosaur. And that's this little tooth right here that I found with my friend Michael Estes of Pontotoc, Mississippi, one of the guys who helps me in the field collect fossils. Michael's awfully busy these days, and he's not able to join me as much as he used to. But he was with me this very memorable day to find this tooth right here. It was found just east of the Hell Creek WMA, north of New Albany, Mississippi. Prior to this discovery of the Owl Creek tooth, and it's called the Owl Creek tooth because it was found in a formation called the Owl Creek Formation, a formation from whence we've never recovered dinosaur remains in the past. So it's the only dinosaur remain that we are aware of from the Owl Creek Formation. But prior to this discovery, horned dinosaurs were completely unknown from eastern North America, known as Appalachia. Now, about 66 million years ago is the time period for this tooth. So this tooth dates to about 66 million years ago. Based upon the evidence of this tooth and other evidences that we have using the geological record of this seaway that once connected the Arctic Ocean with the Gulf of Mexico, that was present dividing the two continents during this time, all of these evidences coming together are suggesting that a land bridge was established perhaps as early as 68 million years ago, but more likely sooner, 67 or 66 million years ago, just letting a few horned dinosaurs across the land bridge into eastern North America before all non-avian dinosaurs, most of the dinosaurs you're familiar with, that is all dinosaurs except birds, have access to Appalachia or eastern North America. The fourth group we'll discuss are the ornithomimosaurs. Who is given for scale here? Lord Tyrion Lannister, of course. Yes, yeah. All right, posing next to an ornithomimosaur, or ostrich mimic dinosaur. This is one of two different types of dinosaurs that we have ascertained from a variety of limb elements from this site in Columbus, Mississippi, which is our most dinosaur-producing site in the state. We found numerous dinosaurs remains there. Do not let this picture deceive you. These are some of the most complete bones. Most of them are much more fragmentary than what you see here. Some of these bones belong to a very large form of ornithomimosaur. And some of them, well, let me back up here. Well, that's okay. Some of them belong to a smaller type of ornithomimosaur. This is a picture of the site alongside the late Michael Hutchins, an avid fossil collector who was president of the Wildlife Society for many years, and we met at a meeting here in 2013, a Wildlife Society meeting, and of course we became fast friends. Him being a fossil collector and me being the paleontologist here. And so he would come out down to Mississippi, made several trips to collect fossils, including here at the Lexapalooza Creek site before it was completely rip-wrapped and covered. The two different body sizes that we were able to ascertain from our collection of ornithomimosaur remains from the Columbus dinosaur site. This is them. They're in red compared to dinosaurs, to other ornithomimosaurs from the late Cretaceous. They weren't quite as big as the largest of the ornithomimosaurs, Dinochirus. It's an outlier anyway. It's kind of a freak as ornithomimosaurs go. It was unlike most other ornithomimosaurs, but it was rather large, almost as large as this guy right here, the largest of the Gallimimus species. And these are actually Gallimimus bones here for comparison. These are the original Lexapalooza Creek bones and the Gallimimus bones for comparison. And I happen to have some ornithomimosaur bones here. This is a vertebra. Sorry. He's a friend, so I can do that to him. So this is one of the vertebrae. He's going to make me pay later. This is one of the vertebrae at the base of the at the base of the tail. You can pass it around. That's okay. At the base of the tail, that's one of the tail vertebrae, and that's of Gallimimus. Unfortunately, we don't have many vertebrae that are near as complete as that, but this is. How about Mom holds that one? So that's the same bone, a proximal tail, a lower tail vertebra, of one of the Amory dinosaur ornithomimosaurs, or Amory ornithomimosaur vertebrae. So this is vertebra from the base of the tail, and sort of hold it up for comparison. Yeah. See? Pretty close match. Close enough for government work, and I work for the government, so yeah. All right, on to the dromaeosaurs. The dromaeosaurs are only known by their teeth. Their bones are very fragmentary. Bird and raptor bones seldom preserve in the fossil record, in most fossil records anywhere globally, just because their bones are so fragile. They're hollow, allowing birds to fly, and I suppose dromaeosaurs eventually to evolve into birds. They are the root of the birds as we know it. This is an example of Sor ornitholestes, which is a close equivalent of what we had at Luxapalata Creek and from the Alabama sites. And for scale, who do we have there? We have an anonymous woman who does not want to be named. She is currently seeking asylum somewhere, we'll say out west somewhere. We don't know who that is. Anyway, it's just a silhouette. Nobody in particular, remaining anonymous. Here are some of the teeth that we found at the Luxapalata Creek site. This is the first complete tooth that I found here. And all of these fossils, except for the cast, well, even the casts that I'm showing you, these are all in the Museum of Natural Science collections. This tooth I found in 2004. We'd found a couple of broken teeth of dromaeosaurs prior to that. This is probably one of the bigger teeth that we've come across right here, or more complete teeth. And so we believe it belonged to something like Sor ornitholestes. But the remains are so fragmentary, they're just teeth, and we just don't know exactly what type of dromaeosaur it belonged to. And of course, there are the tyrannosauroids. The best known tyrannosaurid is Appalachiosaurus. And what do we have for scale? Yes, exactly, a scary clown for scale. Appalachiosaurus, before the last hadrosaur, Eotrachodon was found, Appalachiosaurus was the most complete dinosaur known from the southeast. It was found in 1982 on this very day, July 2nd. Happy birthday, Appalachiosaurus, right? He's 42 years old today. Does everybody want to sing happy birthday? Oh, we don't have time for that, no. You're already off key. Okay. Found in Montgomery County, Alabama, just south of the city of Montgomery, by Dr. David King of Auburn University and his wife, Janet. I think Janet actually spied the first bones in the outcrop. And it's held by the McWane Science Center in Birmingham. Now, I want to talk about some Alabama fossils not yet reported from Mississippi. They're related to dinosaurs. Very briefly, there is this egg, often referred to in southeastern paleo circles since it was found in 1970 as the egg. We weren't sure if it was a dinosaur egg. No egg at that time had been found anywhere globally with these large papilliform structures on the surface of it. None had been preserved from Mongolia to Argentina, wherever they find eggs. No eggs had been found preserved, and nobody wanted to enter into the egg and explore the contents. It had a big hole in the side of it until James Lamb, Dr. James Lamb of the University of West Alabama. At the time, he was with McWane Science Center, and he started digging in there, and he found an embryo of a dinosaur. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. All right. What type of dinosaur do you think it is? If you guess, you get a door prize. It's not a duckbill, but it is one of the 6 that we discussed. So let's narrow it down. Who was the first one with their hands up over here? Was it you? Okay, go ahead. Which type of dinosaur of the 6 that the 6 that we're discussing and that we introduced there when we started talking about this segment?
It was probably a tribe. Probably a fox.
Okay, it's okay. You're
Maybe like one of the raptors.
okay. Your opinion? Oh, did you have your hand? I'm sorry, I thought you had your hand up. Yes, sir.
Raptor.
Okay, it's not a raptor. We'll take one more. Oh boy. You are close enough for government work. It is an oviraptorosaur. It's not Gallimimus, but I didn't want to answer this all. I don't know if we narrowed it down to the actual answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I got this slide mixed up. It is an ornithomimosaur. I was thinking of the oviraptorosaur slide, but yes, it is an ornithomimosaur, and Gallimimus is an ornithomimosaur, so close enough, and you're going to get to pick out a prize up here up front. So, would you like the hyaenodon, not a dinosaur, the book about non-dinosaurs, Marine Reptiles of Alabama and Mississippi, or the bag? Okay, the hyaenodon, the not a dinosaur. Hyaenodon is a mammal. All right. Moving on. And there's also this feather that was found near Phoenix City, Alabama, right on the Chattahoochee River on Lake Eufaula, in shale deposits, along with numerous plant remains and numerous other feathers thought to belong to birds. So the vast majority of the feathers that they found belong to birds, but they think this actually belonged to a dromaeosaur, or a raptor dinosaur, as they're called. Now, Mississippi dinosaurs, as we mentioned earlier, they die along the coast, and their bloated carcasses wash out to sea where they drift with the tides, and that's how their remains become so far out into these marine sediments. Some of their remains are found in what we call deep water deposits, where they're found tens, if not perhaps hundreds of miles offshore. And occasionally in these fossils, we find some things embedded in them. What do you think this might be embedded in this dinosaur fossil? Yes, sir.
The head.
Embedded up here in this dinosaur fossil. So this is a metatarsal. This is a bone. This is one of these bones right here, except it's in a duck-billed dinosaur. So it's one of these bones, and in the top of it, it has this thing embedded in it. What do you think that might be? Yes, sir. Yes, it is a tooth. All right, fantastic. So that's it. We're zooming in on it right there. The tooth is serrated like a steak knife. And since you got the right answer, and if you want to look at this after the show, you're going to see that this bone right here has all these marks on it from shark teeth, from sharks biting into the bone. And if you don't believe me, I want you to take your finger and I want you to rub it right here. You want to take your finger right there and rub it this way. Not too hard. Oh, his eyes lit up. Okay, so rub it right there. Right here, go this way. Okay, watch my finger. Go this way. Go this way. Ah, you feel it? Yeah, your eyes lit up too. You didn't cut your finger, did you? There are actually, now you do this one. That's another one. Did you feel it? Their eyes lit up. If you couldn't see their eyes, they really lit up. So this thing has 4 shark teeth embedded in it. We're going to leave this right here for now. So you get to pick out a prize. One of the door prizes, since you got the right answer that it was a tooth. You want to help yourself? You want one of the mystery prizes, or a mystery prize? Or do you want the book? Okay, all right. It's in the bag. Okay, do you want to take it out and show it to everybody? All right, remember we know at least it's not a dinosaur. Or a bone, yeah, I'm not going to give away museum's fossils. So it's a tote, not a purse. It's a tote shaped like a shark. You look a little disappointed, so I want you to unzip it. Okay, all right. I want you to get into its contents. Cut that shark open. Okay, you might find something else in there. Who knows? All right, so here are our dinosaurs in review, the ones that inhabited Mississippi, the hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, the nodosaurs or armored dinosaurs, the horned dinosaurs, ostrich-mimic dinosaurs, raptors, and the large theropods. Are there any questions? But before we do questions, we want to do a little drawing. We're going to do a guess the number to win the last prize. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to write it down a number between 1 and 100. And anybody that's won something else, they can also compete in this. And you're going to try to guess that number. All right? I'm going to write down the number. And I'm going to give it to my lovely assistant. And if you will quickly write down the names and the numbers that they choose, whoever, if you don't have to participate if you don't want to. Would you like to participate? Okay. What is your number? And name? Okay.
Pick a number.
Okay, pick a number. 50. And your name is? Okay. 99. And what is your name?
John.
Okay, John. Name? Number? 30. Name? Slavic. And number? Name?
Miles.
Number?
77.
Name? Number?
27.
Name?
Rivers?
Number?
Wait.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
62.
Who was 27?
Remy.
Name?
Rivers?
Rivers? We've met before, haven't we? I thought, okay, anyway.
62.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Name?
Orland?
Arlen? Okay, number?
7.
7? Okay, anybody else want to participate? Yes, sir. Oh, no, between 1 and 100.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
He'd like to participate.
Should we open this up to big kids? Name?
This gentleman would like to.
Oh, yes, sir.
Gene Hunt.
Okay, Gene, number?
50.
50, okay. What have we got here? Did we get everybody? Oh, okay, come on down. Come on down. Name? Come on this way. Name? Name? Elena, your number?
35.
Okay, name? Raylan, number? Braylon, number? 78. Interesting. Okay, what have we got there, my dear?
One more.
Oh, one more? Okay.
2 more.
Oh, goodness. What we got? What's yours, baby? Nick? 40. And you?
Start. 25. Skylar. 30, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, what do you think?
Okay, so your closest one
78?
is 77. Is closer.
Oh, I thought he said 78.
77 is closer than 78.
Okay. All right. Who said 77? I think it was Miles. All right, Miles. You get a book about non-dinosaurs. All right. Let's give him a round of applause. Sorry, Abby. You know where to get those books anyway, Abby, so there's no point in participating. See me after class. Okay. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
George, in paleontology, which came first, feather or scale?
Oh, the feather or the scale. I imagine it was the scale. I'm pretty certain it was the scale. I'm not well read up on that literature, but I'm fairly certain it was the scale. Some primitive form of scale. The scales come in all different in all different stripes, and scales are not necessarily homologous to one another. They don't necessarily, they arose in the fossil record at different times, in different groups, unrelated groups. But generally speaking, scales in general would have come before feathers. Yes, sir?
Have you ever been to Glen Rose, Texas?
I've heard about Glen Rose, Texas. Oh, where the trackways are. Yeah. I have, well, I'm sorry. I did go to Glen Rose in the 2000s for, what did they call it? It was the fossil powwow. But we never got to see the trackways.
Last summer.
Oh, I hear they're better exposed than ever.
We went in July. There was a drought, so they had found several new ones, throughout the
Yeah.
time that we were there.
Yeah.
So don't go in July.
Oh, don't go in July. Bad idea. Okay. Yeah, I've heard it's even better exposed than it used to be. Yes, sir.
What is the biggest bone found in Mississippi?
Oh, a biggest dinosaur bone or just biggest bone in general?
Dinosaurs.
The biggest dinosaur bone, I guess, reconstructed, it would be the picker's bone downstairs. Do you know which bone I'm talking about? The bone that was donated by the American Pickers Program. It's in a special case downstairs. But that would be reconstructed. But I think, now that I think about it, with respect to total mass, volume, and unreconstructed, although I did reconstruct the very end of it, it may be the bone that I found at Blue Springs, Mississippi. But either way, those two run a close match there. Yes, sir?
What is the smallest dinosaur?
Smallest dinosaur bone you ever found?
Oh, I guess it would be those raptor teeth. Or fragments of bigger dinosaur bones. So we do find a lot of fragments. One of the easiest ways to recognize a dinosaur bone, not just in Mississippi's fossil record, but really anywhere, is that dinosaurs are generally pretty big. And if you find big bone fragments in marine deposits, particularly of certain shapes, and regardless of that, you're almost certain that they're going to be from a dinosaur. Big, bulky limb bone fragments just would not be anything else during that time period. They wouldn't be an elephant, obviously. Elephants hadn't appeared yet. Yes, sir?
It's a hard question. Geologically, can you give a rough idea what depth did you find most discoveries? Is there a,
Oh, at the surface. We're finding them at the surface.
but there's been erosion that brought it up,
Right. Just
Any
by
idea,
virtue of erosion.
how they would have been, what depth it would have been?
Oh, yeah, I kind of see where you're getting at. So obviously they were buried much deeper at one time, and the landscape has done nothing but erode over time since the sea. There used to be, I didn't have time to cover it, but there was a sea that inundated the Mississippi, that occupied the Mississippi River Valley, and it retreated over time. And ever since that sea has retreated to its current coastline, we've had nothing but erosion of the landscape. Now, there's always a battle or struggle between erosion and deposition. Obviously, large rivers and any rivers are depositing sediments too and covering things up. But the net effect is erosion of the landscape over time, over geologic time. Yes, sir?
How deep were they buried?
Well, the big dinosaur bone from Blue Springs, only a portion of it was exposed. I suppose, so that bone is this tall from my hand to the floor, a femur of a duck-billed dinosaur, and I suppose really only a small portion of the end of it was exposed. So I had to dig really deep into the bank from which it was exposed and eroding. Okay, all right, well, hey, thank you guys for joining us. If you want to see some more dinosaur fossils up here, take a look at some of the things that I brought, feel free, and we'll talk after the program.
And save the day.